if you have seen my work already, but I'm trying to focus on getting loose, getting free, and getting expressive rather than focusing on an anatomically correct figure. Okay, so maybe what I could do is start by showing a few examples of my work. So this is one. I don't know if you can see properly.
Yeah, it's perfect.
So it's not very academic. It's I'm don't try to be very accurate in terms of anatomy or anything. But what I like to do is going a little bit towards abstraction and focusing on getting loose, getting the drawing coming out fast. So I don't want to think too much about what I'm doing. I want really that comes from my guts. So what I really focus during the class is letting go and trying to get loose. That's very important. So all the poses that we work with are very short. I typically don't do more than 2 minutes poses. So that's another one.
Eric, do you paint after you draw, or is it all kind of within?
It's at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And yeah. So this one, for example, was one that I did at the end of the pose. That was a few minutes pose, but I had done a few other drawings during that pose. And at the end, I started this drawing, and then the pose was over. So this one was done just from the memory of the pose. So these are other examples here. Okay, I have so many. I won't show everything, but of course, but that gives you an idea of what I'm working with.
Eric, have you been drawing a lot during the shelter in place?
Actually, I did a lot of sculpture. I had a lot of unfinished work doing, and I really enjoy actually having the time to finish that. You can see there's a big sculpture in the back here.
Oh wow!
And there's several over there. So now I think I did most of what I wanted to finish. Now I can focus more on the drawing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that sculpture is something that takes a lot of work, a lot of busy work, because I can spend an hour to do a sculpture and then spend days and weeks to make a bronze out of that.
Yeah, I did. I was looking through your Instagram, which I have to say is Eric St. George's. It's a great Instagram account, and I'm not a sculptor or barely an artist, and I was surprised by how much work goes into the mold and the cast and
yeah.
Yeah. I was like, what? I just thought it was some clay and it dries and it's done. No, it's just the beginning.
So what I wanted to show you also today, I'm going to show you two things. The first thing is when we have a 2 minutes drawings, there's not a lot of time to think about how to do that. And people very often struggle on where to start the drawing and how to proceed in the drawing. Okay, so in many instances, people think that starting with the head is a good idea, but it's a good idea for longer poses. And I'm not saying that you should never start with the head, but for a 2 minute pose, if you start with the head, you end up very often to spend 1.5 minutes on the head, and you don't have much time for the rest. And also, the head tends to be bigger, too big relative to the body, because you focus too much on the head, and then the body tends to be too small. And so I suggest not to start with the head. I'll do some demonstration maybe. So I'm going to switch to my board here. Okay, so everybody can see that. And I'm going to share a photo. So for drawing online, at home, I mean, online you can find a lot of videos and photos that you can use to do that. I start on the inside here, and I will explain why a little bit later. But I start from the inside. And so, for example, on this one, I would start here. Can you see? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And the reason why I'm doing that is, for me, the movement radiates from the core, right? So here it's going to radiate in these directions. And if I start from here, I can use that point as a good reference for all the rest of the drawing here. So here I'm mixing these indications with the drawing also, so it doesn't maybe look very good, but that's okay. And so notice that when I do that, if I start from here, I go to the belly button, I look at that angle, and then I look at that angle here. I look at the angle of the waist here to position that point here.
So Eric, it sounds like the anchor angle is the waist.
Oh, that's one of them, yes.
Oh, yeah.
So for example, here I have a very defined line here. I have a very defined line here. I have another one here. I want to notice all these angles here. And that's much more useful than trying to take the dimension and compare the dimension. Because when I do the dimension, I can very easily miss the gesture here. So when you do that, very quickly you can build your drawing without having the problem of trying to fit everything in one space. For example, if I start from the other side, okay, if I start from the outside here, okay, so I'm doing that side here, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I start from here, and then now, if this is not perfectly correct, then after I have to fit everything in there. And then if this is not correct, I will have a lot of trouble to fit everything here with the right proportions.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, because you create a box and you try to fit everything in the box. When starting from that side here, it's much easier because you can build around that, and then you always have the space to put things here. So there's two things going on here. There's one which is my movement is starting from my core, so it's very easy to make my movement radiate from there. But also from the idea of building my drawing and progressing in my drawing, I'm not limited by the space here. I can go here, and it's very easy when I go from here to here to see, okay, that space looks right. Okay, now if I go from here to here, okay, that space looks right. Now I can go here and I can go here, and then I can build like this, having checked my different elements one after one at a time. If I go directly from here to here, now if this is not the right distance, then I will have trouble to put this one. If I put this one too close, then I don't know. I don't know where to put the breast here in that case. Okay. So I'm going to do maybe another one. Let's see. Yeah, for example, this one. So if you have any question, let me know.
Yeah, we're good. I'm curious to where you're going to start this one.
Okay, so this one, I'm going to start here because everything expands from here. So let me grab something different, a bit different. So I'm going to start here. So now the spine here, I make sure that it connects here. So I have that space now that I created that space. Now I can go a little bit further. And I'm always checking the angle. For example, what is to locate that foot, where I'm going to put it? I look at the angle between here and the heel. And so now I know that it's somewhere here. So notice I never take the look at the distance or the size or respective size of things. It's not necessary. Okay.
I'm drawing along. It doesn't look as good as yours.
And so for example, to locate the head, I'm going to look at the vertical from here folds here. So I know that my head is roughly here. Okay, so that's the way I suggest people to start their drawing, to start from the inside and then progress one element at a time. So going from here to the spine and then to the other side, going from here to here and then here, and then from here to here and then that and then that. Because a lot of, in many cases, beginners, they're going to start here and then going right away here. That's very difficult to do that unless you have a good eye. Any questions so far?
So if I wanted to draw more figures, what's the best place to source these type of images?
Okay, so there's different website you can go, or YouTube video. So some videos are have timed models. So the video will start with 30 seconds and then 1 minute. And so these are actual models posing for some time.
Oh, cool.
Other site will just provide photos. And actually, either one is good. I mean, the video, you can stop it if you want more time. So it's just an opportunity to, it makes it easier to time it if you want. But the disadvantage of the photos compared to a life model is there's two disadvantages for me. One is, of course, it's 2D, it's not 3D. So you're looking at something which is already in 2D. So you're missing the translation from 3D to 2D. And also, the photos are not life size. And I like to draw life size. And one other thing I try to teach also is try to draw, at least when you practice letting go and practice getting loose, you don't want to look at your paper all the time. So you want to look at the model, and you want to create a good connection between your eye and your hand. But when you do that, it's much easier to draw the size you see. So if you see something which is that size, you want, on the paper, you want to draw the same size. You don't want to draw smaller or bigger, because then you need to scale down or up. And that's another steps which slows you down and doesn't help you to create a good connection between your eye and your hand. So on the photos, I try, on the paper, I'm drawing smaller than I typically draw, because I'm drawing the size of the photo on the computer. But if I have a large model, I would draw on something which is much bigger than that.
When I've walked in your class, you have like a larger, I guess you're working on an easel with
Yes.
a large, yeah, with the large piece of paper, so you're more of in an upright position.
Yes. Yeah.
Is there, I mean, do you what's the difference between drawing in that position versus drawing flat on a table?
Well, so sometimes I draw on the table. I don't draw always on the easel. There's some studio where the model is in front of many people, and we don't have space for easel, so I draw on the table. The first thing is that when you draw on an easel, your paper is in the same plane as your model. If you draw on the table, you have to be careful, because you're seeing the paper with an angle, so you tend to it tends to shorten your view, and so your drawing might be elongated compared to what it should be. So there's this issue, unless you are standing up and looking down on the paper. But typically we are not. We're looking at the paper with a flat angle, so it distorts your view.
I've never thought of that. And the class that you're teaching now, the online class, are your students drawing flat on tables or on
No,
easels?
they're all on easels.
All on easels.
Yeah, yeah.
And are they drawing in pencil?
They're drawing in charcoal, pencil, and then we do some color also. And for example, I would.
Oh, I love this already.
Add some color here, but again, the color I add is typically very loose, and I try to tell them not to color color the drawing. For example, what I don't want to do is something like this.
Yeah.
Where actually your model is sticking out of the paper and has no connection with the background. Okay, and there's no white to breathe in here. So on this one, notice that I have the color coming out here, and very movement. And I don't want to have to mix my color very well. I want to enjoy the randomness of the color sometimes, and sometimes I would add something like this. And then so yeah, so that's another thing. With the color, we want to be very loose, also very free.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and it does bring more movement into the painting when it's, you know, when you're incorporating the background and leaving elements of white.
Yes, yes, yes. And the other thing is, I try to to teach as much as possible to how to get loose. And one of the exercise, how much time do we have left?
5 more minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the exercise that we do sometimes is, let me go down. I'm doing a demonstration on this one. Is to take one pose, and this is great. This is something you can easily do online because we can take a beautiful pose and we can make it last as long as we want, as opposed to a life. So that's one advantage of the photos as a reference. And so I would say, okay, we have a 5 minutes pose here, and we want to make 10 drawings out of this pose. So that's 30 seconds per drawing. And try to do 10 drawings with different ways. So for example, on this one, I would start, and again, it's a practice of enjoying the letting go. That's basically what it is. So I will have one like this. Okay, that's about 30 seconds. I could do another one with a piece of charcoal. Okay, so and I can enjoy just simplifying the whole thing. And if I want to have some fun, I can do some things. And again, that doesn't have to look like a very finished drawings. What you want to practice here is already letting go, trying different ways of drawing. Another one would be to have a continuous line, only a continuous line, so I never lift my pen from the paper. Okay, another one could be starting with a color. So I could, can you see here? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So I could just start here and use different kind of pencil, which can draw in on wet paper.
Oh, wow. What kind of pencil is that, Eric?
So this is a what is say a quarrable. It's a stabilo, which is can write on paper and glass and on wet. Okay, so here this is just part of the silhouette, part of the gesture here, and I can do another one like I don't know. Yeah, let's start with the color again. And I can do another one like this. Yeah, and notice I still start from the inside all the time.
Yeah.
And it makes so much easier to have the gesture right without having to think too much about the proportions. And then I'm going to add some just different color. And so you see, these are getting more and more abstract, more and more loose. And so that's what I like in this practice. Enjoying this, getting more and more loose, letting go. Don't be afraid of mistakes, and just enjoying the experience.
And the beautiful results.
And yeah, and the results are more. They're all different. If you look at the drawings from all the students, they're all different, and some are really beautiful, and that's really the expression of their own self, as opposed to trying to reproduce exactly what they see. So that's the whole idea of what I'm doing.